Welcome back to the ZERT Coffee and Chaos Podcast, the show where we talk about anything and everything relating to what it means to be a survivalist and a prepared individual in today's society. I'm your host, Chris Bartagone, ZP002. Back with me on the show, my co-host, Jamie Franks. Jamie, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Chris. As we record this, we are exactly 1 week out from Festivus and that other holiday.
Santa's coming in the form of Schillinger from Oz. And that's a throwback to any of you that watched the Oz series on HBO way back in the day. And it's so funny to see him playing Santa Claus now, as he was playing the head of the Aryan race in the prison back then. So shocker there. Wow.
Yeah. And so thank you for taking a break from watching Lethal Weapon and Die Hard 2 and Violent Night and joining us here on the podcast.
Yeah. And that's what I was referring to. You know, you and I talked about this the other day. The Christmas movies that we all tend to watch, and we went back and forth a little bit about Die Hard being a Christmas movie, and I think that's the running joke as of late, that it's considered a Christmas movie, and it's
not a joke.
It's the running joke every year on social media, the back and forth of, is it a Christmas movie? Is it not a Christmas movie? I watched Die Hard so many times before it was ever in that classification that it got to be, a little bit much for me. So when I found Violent Night with David Harbour as playing Santa Claus, a Viking Santa Claus, I loved it. And I'm so glad that I found it. And that's my new favorite Christmas movie. For those of you who have not seen it already, Red One is a Christmas movie that is out right now, which has that guy that I was just talking about playing Santa Claus. And it's funny because he's not a fat, jolly Santa Claus. He is a well defined, muscular old man Santa Claus. But it was a good movie. So anyone that hasn't seen it, by the time this airs, hopefully you're still watching Christmas movies. But it was good. I could take The Rock or leave The Rock. I'm over him, but it was entertaining.
Have you seen? I have not. Just in advance there, disclaimer: I've not seen it. Did you watch Fat Man with?
No, I've heard that. No, I've heard that was a good one too.
Oh, you heard it was good?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard it was not. That's why I never watched it. I heard it was not good, and then I don't know. I think it came out before Violent Night, but I did watch. I did watch Violent Night, and I didn't watch Fat Man, but my understanding is they're kind of similar. Like, basically, Martin Riggs becomes Santa Claus kind of deal.
But I mean, just going back to your comment of you heard people say that it's not good. When it comes to movies, everyone likes what they like and what they don't like. And, somebody will think a movie is great. And I thought it was absolute trash. Like that movie, what is it? Northman with the dude who, okay. Yeah. I mean, everyone was raving about that movie and I could not stand it.
Is that a Christmas movie?
No, it's not, but it just came to mind because I remember so many people talking about how good it was. It's got Alex Skarsgård, and he plays, a Viking in it, and everyone raved about it. And I watched that movie. I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. So, but there's movies out there that people they hate. But I'll watch it all the time. Like, and Paul hates this one, but Tears of the Sun. Did you ever watch that one with Bruce Willis?
So
I enjoyed it.
I also, not to get us even farther off track, but like, there are movies that you have to just push the I believe button and understand that it's a movie and it's for entertainment. And like, I always piss people off with this, and because I always make the point that there's a difference between movies that you like and good movies. Just because you like a movie doesn't make it good. It's okay to like a bad movie. And I am sorry, Tombstone is a bad movie, just from the aspect that it is not historically accurate at all. The firearms are not accurate at all. There's a scene in the movie where it's raining just on Kurt Russell, but if you look all behind him and around him, it's not raining anywhere else except just on his head. And so like all those kinds of things, like it's not a good movie. It's not, but everybody loves it, myself included. I love Tombstone. I'm not saying I don't like it, but I am making the point that I can make a lot of points to where it's not a good movie. And so like my other example, to your point, is I just do not like Game of Thrones. Like so many people love it, so many people say it's the best thing ever, and like I just do not like it. And it might be great. It might, somebody else could probably make a case for why it's the best series that has ever been in the history of television, and I just don't like it. So that there's all that, and I mean, and there's movies that I call like guilty pleasure movies. My number one guilty pleasure movie is SWAT with Colin Farrell. If I'm flipping through the channels and I see it on, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna enjoy every single second of it.
But you're right. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. That's a lot of that's Hollywood entertainment for you. And you can watch that, and there's always something new coming out every week on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, whatnot. Or you can just turn on the news these days, and you got a lot of
and there's lots of
there's a lot of crazy entertainment value in just the news, or use the internet, whatever you do. But you can turn on the internet, or you can turn on the news now or the internet and see about the imminent drone attack that is happening in New Jersey. And that was just a smooth segue onto what we're really going to talk about today, because as you guys are aware, when Jamie and I get on these shows, we can go for hours and hours, and we try to limit ourselves to that. But as Jamie said at the top of the show, thank you for taking a break in your week and to spend some of that time with us as we dive into our shows. As you guys are aware, always, we post our shows. They go live on Spotify and Apple on Thursdays, usually Thursday mornings. We try and get you for your drive to work, and that goes on the Firearms Radio Network as well. The video portion of this show does air after it on YouTube. So if you have not gone to follow the YouTube channel, please head over there, subscribe to the page, like the videos, and hit the bell notification so you do get notified when they drop. As far as today's show, today we're going to have DMO Knives as our sponsor for the show. And there is some exciting talk going on. Maybe by the time this show airs, something special might have dropped, but DMO Knives are a American-made knife brand. They've been around. They've been in the firearms industry for a minute. One of the coolest things about these knives is the fact that they come with a lifetime guarantee. And they're not the cheapest knife out there in price, but that also makes you know that they're not the cheap quality knife out there. If you want to spend $20, $50 on a knife, pick yourself up a Cold Steel and good luck with that. The metal that you use is probably not quality, and you're probably not going to get very far with that thing. But DMO Knives, they're a ZERT affiliate. ZERT members do get discounts. They've got some amazing blades out there that will stand the test of time, and with a lifetime guarantee, you can't beat that. Anything happens to your knife, send it back to them, and they send it back in the condition you purchased it in. So blade repair, sharpening, handle repair, whatever the case may be. So check out DMO Knives on the website, dmoknives.com. And if you're a ZERT member, if you don't have the discount, reach out to your local POC and they'll get you one. All right.
I don't have a DMO knife, but perhaps I should change that.
You would like it. In fact, you might like this mysterious one that might be coming out soon. But yeah, they're badass. I mean, I've used it for a minute now, I put that thing through its paces. I mean, that gets batoned through wood all the time. They are not light, but I don't want a flimsy feeling knife in my hand. Like, I want to pick that thing up and understand that I've got a hunk of metal in it, 1095 steel. But yeah, good stuff. good for throwing at drones. So if they tell you not to shoot the drones down, but if you've got the arm of Tim Kennedy, you can probably throw a knife right through the drone.
Yeah.
Or 50 knives right through the drone. But that will be a running joke probably for a little bit. So
I saw a again, I'm not trying to keep us off topic, but scrolling through my social media, I can't even remember what company it was, but they released their Christmas morale patch, and it was the Grinch's hand like this, like holding a hand grenade. And I just commented, Tim Kennedy needs 50 of these, and then like 1 million people liked my comment. So yeah,
that's great, good stuff, awesome. Well, folks, as you guys are probably catching on here, what we want to dive into the drone chatter that has been making its way through the internet, through social media, probably now for a couple of weeks. As we said at the time of this recording, we're a week prior to Christmas Day, so it's a week early. I'm sorry, week before Christmas, and this drone thing is still pretty much in the news. And we've been slightly challenged because the last 3 episodes we recorded have been pretty hot topics on things that are in the news. So I try and make sure that we get stuff that is kind of popular and trending out now as it is relevant now. And if we were to post this thing 3 months down the road and everything has already been figured out, and we know that it was just Nancy Pelosi looking for all you can eat buffets and liquor stores that are open 24 hours a day, it's not going to sound as great, but we'll try and jump on these things as quick as we can. So as you guys may or may not be aware, there have been some drone sightings in the Northeast, specifically New Jersey, and specifically over 5,000 reports of drones in the sky at night are coming in to local law enforcement. That's a lot. Now, Jamie, when you and I spoke earlier in the week, you said that there had been some reports out west, but I have not seen that. So
yeah, that was one of the other points. Whenever we got to it, you're jumping straight into that from the top. Yeah. So the major area that seems to be making the news, and again, kind of what you alluded to a second ago about tuning into certain news stations and it basically being political fiction, but or science fiction or medical fiction, whatever. But certain news outlets are not talking about it at all. It definitely seems like, I'll just be straight out with it, like it definitely seems like the more left-leaning news outlets, the further left they lean, the less they're talking about the drones, and the further right a media outlet leans, the more they're talking about it. So right. That is interesting. But also, yes, the main area for the news outlets that are even talking about it at all, the main geographic area that they're talking about seems to be the New Jersey area. However, out here, I have seen like people that I know and trust personally that live up in the Los Angeles area. They're saying that there have been these same types of drone sightings, and a lot of them around Los Angeles. And then there's a city, I live in San Diego. There's a city just north of San Diego that's also had a lot of drone sightings. The city's called Temecula, California. And that is not being really talked about at all that I've heard. So so either the entire situation is not being talked about, or if it is being talked about, they're referencing only the New Jersey area. But there are and I read a thing last night actually that talked about this same thing is happening in Denmark. But I didn't have time to vet that one any deeper, but it does seem to be happening other places other than New Jersey. But for some reason, that's getting the only attention that is being gotten.
Yeah. So, we all have some sources out there we can check with. I know you do, and obviously I do on a federal and a local level. So let's take it back. Let's take a couple steps back and and just kind of dive into this at the beginning. So what is known and how is it known right now? So obviously how it's known are people are looking up in the sky and they're seeing lights. Now, I've seen some pictures out there and all it is obviously hovering lights, right? Have you seen that image?
I mean, not hovering. I mean, all the ones I have seen are moving. But
well, I'm talking about a picture. So the picture is, it's not a lot. I didn't. So, obviously it's a picture. So the picture is just hovering lights above a house. I don't know if you've seen it or not. I can try and find it and pull it up. While you tell me what you've seen, but that's what I've seen. I have not seen the videos that. Have you seen videos of these things moving?
Yeah, and the videos I have seen are worse than the footage of Bigfoot walking across that river. So,
right. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the image here, and I'm going to put it up in the chat here as we're talking. But it's not like I just don't know. So, like I said, what is known? Well, this is what we're seeing. And this is what we're being told. So I don't know that they're drones. Okay, right? I mean, I guess that has to be a fair statement. Based off of the image that I've seen, I can't say that they're drones or not. They're lights.
Okay.
Right? I mean, they're lights in the sky. Everyone is assuming that they're drones. Now, I've got a drone. You've seen it. You've seen it crash into a tree. My drone is just a regular DJI propeller drone. Now, as far as drones, there are about four. There's four types, right? You've got your multi-rotor like the DJIs. You got a fixed wing, a single rotor, and a fixed wing hybrid. I mean, I don't know if you remember or not, but the drone that I had was loud.
Yeah.
So is anybody saying that they have actually seen these drones and they are confirmed to be drones? Because the rumor out there is they're the size of an SUV, right?
That's what I've heard is that they're the size of a car, or an SUV. Yeah.
So here's the picture that I'm referring to. Now this was one of the first images. This is the picture that has been circulating on the internet. And for those of you that are just listening to this and have not gone over to watch it on YouTube yet, it's just lights in the sky, right? And it's a still image. Very hard. Go ahead.
I was gonna you're speaking as if that like everybody has seen this picture. That's the first time I've seen that image. Everything I have seen has been video footage.
Okay. So that's interesting, right? So this picture, which was one of the first ones that I've seen, you have not. Now, granted, you're in California. I'm over here on the East Coast. So can somebody say without a shadow of a doubt that those are drones?
No. And what, when you say the word when you say the term or the acronym UFO, everybody immediately goes to flying saucers and little green men, but UFO literally stands for unidentified flying object. So those images, that image that you just showed, those lights would definitely seem to be flying objects that I cannot identify. Therefore, they are UFOs, if nothing else at this point. So,
yeah. So basically, the how the information is known so far is from a bunch of people looking up in the sky at night and seeing lights and saying, "There's drones in the air. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" Right? And where we're finding it is on the internet. Like you said, you're not seeing a lot of news reports, but when I did a Google search for it, they're all reporting on it. There's all, like, if you type drones in New Jersey and you hit enter, Google's going to bring up what ABC is telling you, what Fox News is telling you, what AP News is telling you. What I find interesting is they're all different stories.
Well, so so there's a lot to unpack with just that little with what you just said right there.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is something like one of my best friends, he's out now, but he was a Marine sniper. And he is, and I think I am, like, he's really good at noticing stuff. And like, he always says, yeah, I'm a trained observer. That's like, I've heard him say that a million times. I'm a trained observer. And there is something to that there.
I agree.
And there is something to actually having formal training in making observations. And like, when I was in Afghanistan, one of my jobs in Afghanistan as part of the counter IED task force, we called it trend analysis. So we were supposed to look at all of these IED incidents and find any little similarity that we could to tie them together. And a basic example I always use is any IED explosion where there were any components recovered. We would look at any wires that had been soldered and see if the soldering method looked to be the same. So then that would be like, we could say that maybe the same person was building these devices, or at least the same person was training people how to build these devices. So there is something to being a trained observer, and there is something to being able to analyze trends. And so there is a lot to be said for what I think this is what you were kind of getting at. There's a lot to be said for what's not being seen and what's not being known and what's not being noticed. And like, do you know who Bethany Frankel is? Like, she was on one of those, I think she was one of those original, like, Real Housewives of the something. And she broke off. She made
that season.
The Skinny Girl margaritas is the thing I know her from, because my ex-wife used to drink the Skinny Girl margaritas. But she's a reality TV personality. And she lives up in New Jersey, I guess. And I came across her social media and she's like, her social media for the last week has been all drones all the time. And like, she's saying things that I think like normal people would say and think. Number one, I'll just go ahead and throw this out there. If anybody talks to anybody and they hear anything that sounds like, well, my ex-husband's brother knows a guy that's in the CIA and blah, 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 that's bullshit. Like, just shut the fuck up. That, like, your credibility is lost. Because everybody knows a guy that knows a guy. And like, speaking of terrible movies that everybody hates, you've seen Band of Brothers, right?
Did you say movie? Because that was a TV show, wasn't it?
Yeah, sorry. It was a miniseries. Sorry, and everybody loves it. I was kidding about that. But yeah, in Band of Brothers, there's the whole thing about Lieutenant Spears, and you know, at the end of the series, because there was the story that was circulating that Lieutenant Spears, like, you know, gunned down all these POWs on D-Day. And he says, did you ever notice everybody you hear the story from says they heard it from somebody else, but, you know, you can't ever find anybody that actually says they were there? Like that, I'm getting a lot of those vibes from this drone thing. And like, one of the things that, you know, Bethany Frankel said, that again, I think it's one of those things that a lot of people would also think and repeat. It's like, oh, there have been, like you said, there have been hundreds of reports of these drones. There have been thousands of reports. And I think when you say that a certain way, that alludes to that there are thousands of drones, or that there have been hundreds of drones seen. But if a drone is flying over like a major population center,
right,
100 people can see the same drone, and 100 people can report that same drone, but that just means that there's one. That doesn't mean that there's 100. And I think it was 2 years ago, I think it was in 2022, the U.S. Navy leapfrogs, the U.S. Navy's parachute demonstration team. They were parachuting into the stadium here in San Diego, and they all had strobe lights on the backs of their boots.
Right.
And so they were skydiving and holding onto each other and making a circle. And then when they got to a certain altitude, they all broke apart and tracked away from each other. So the circle expanded, and then poof, all of a sudden the lights were gone. That's because they opened their parachutes, turned off their strobe lights, and parachuted down into the stadium. But several people around all different areas of San Diego reported this as a UFO because it was this circle of lights that was coming from the sky really fast. And then all of a sudden the circle expanded and then it was gone. And it was the Navy parachute demonstration team parachuting into the stadium. But many, many, many people saw it and reported it and took a video of it and put it on social media and reported it as like this crazy UFO thing. So many people can see the same thing. And number one, multiple people can report the same thing. And that doesn't mean that there's multiple things. Many people can see the same thing and all think that it's something different and can all report it as something different. It's a kind of a known quantity in the law enforcement community that 5 people can legitimately all witness the exact same crime. And they all make a different report. So that there's a number one, there's a lot of ambiguity in this. And to me, anybody that's going on social media or going in front of a camera and going, well, my cousin's stepbrother's friend is in the FBI, and he's like, all of that is bullshit. But
and let's just be clear about it, right? So we're sitting here talking about it today to talk about it in a couple of different lights. Like one, we're going to put the spotlight on it for a second, but then we're also going to talk about the proper way to really handle this situation and not be one of these people. But let's just be clear. Anybody that's making a video about this on Instagram, a reel, a TikTok, a YouTube video, it is for views. It is for clicks. And especially when they start putting out the panic information, there's drones and they're sniffing for nukes and they're sniffing for a dirty bomb. And listen, you and we said the same thing earlier this week. Now, 11 hours ago, that has been debunked. Right? Or
really?
So an official has.
That's what they want you to think.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? So we can go down that rabbit hole, and people are going to hear what they want to hear when they get that piece of information from the Google box, from the interwebs, right? If the Department of Energy is saying no, we're not looking for this, people are either going to be like, oh, okay, well, they're the government, so sure, they're not lying to us. Or people are going to be, the fucking government, they're definitely lying to us. So you just, here's what, take the information and do your own due diligence and your research on it. Don't just read a sentence on the internet says this is what's happening, and I'm going to just believe it.
Well, and where I was going was like, pay attention to what's not being seen and what's not being said. And I do think there are some dots there that can be connected. And I don't know I haven't come up with a solid conclusion, but like the fact that there, at least from what I have seen, there's been no daytime footage, no daytime photos of these alleged drones that are the size of an SUV. And I don't even know if there have been any daytime sightings. Literally every single thing I've seen and heard has been at night, which that makes it a little interesting and also a little bit dubious, I think. There's, another question that I ask is, why has there been no air-to-air contact? Why has, why hasn't a Southwest Airlines plane seen these? Or why hasn't, you have a drone, so why hasn't somebody like you said, oh, there's a drone there's one of these scary drones above my house. Why don't I send my drone up to take a look at it?
Right. So according to the internet and news reports, there have been people that have done that. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know. I mean, do we believe that? Do we believe what Fox News is telling us about people in New Jersey taking up a drone to go try and see what this drone is? I don't know. There have definitely been reports of people attempting to shoot the drones down.
Yeah. So I saw I saw footage of a man being arrested. I guess there was a drone hovering over his house, and he shot it with a 9mm pistol. But it was like, so a lot of, if people are listening and don't know, like one of my good friends that I used to, he's retired, he's out of the Navy now. But he, like, one of his like little side hustles was he had a humongous like quadcopter drone that was the size of my dining room table, bigger than the size of my dining room table. and that could carry like a massive payload. He told me his drone was capable of carrying an IMAX camera, and his drone was licensed with the FAA. He could only fly it in certain airspaces at certain altitudes. He had to he would have to, if he got hired to do a videography job and load up, a camera onto his drone. Like one of the things he did here in San Diego was there was this new high-rise apartment building, and so he like flew his drone like up the side of the building so that they could make a promotional video. But he had to like notify the FAA that he was going to be operating his drone and at what altitude and what area for how long and all the stuff. So a lot of these drones, especially the nicer ones, not the ones that came off of Temu, but like the nicer drones are registered with the FAA. You do have to have a license to operate them, and legally they are treated in the same way as like a manned aircraft. And so I guess whatever was hovering over this dude's house that I saw a video of was somebody's private owned licensed registered drone, and he shot it with a 9mm pistol, and they showed up the next morning to present him with a matching set of silver bracelets.
So let's just go ahead.
No, and so the officers in the video said that he was going to be charged with because I guess he actually did hit the drone, so good on him for that. But he was going to be charged with like a property damage and some like municipal charges like that, but also he was going to be facing federal charges for firing at an aircraft.
Right. Okay. So let's go back to the one thing there that should be universally understood by anybody that owns a firearm. Whether you're shooting at a perceived UFO in the sky or not, do not discharge your firearm in the air like it is a Mexican holiday and you're wearing a sombrero. Please do not do that. That will get you in trouble.
And if you're wearing a sombrero, are you going to put a hole in your sombrero?
Exactly. I think everybody understands that what goes up must come down thing. And eventually they just don't keep going. Like, you're not going to shoot a hole in the moon. It's going to come back down. Now, so first and foremost, let's just put that disclaimer out there. Please do not fire your weapon into the air. Secondly, I don't know what they're being charged with, and you just put it out there as what charges they were. It's a federal crime because, like you said, those drones some of them are manned. So that was the other thing that they were saying, is some of them are manned drones. So they said not only are people shooting at these drones, but they're also using laser pointers, and they are disorienting the pilots of these manned drones. Again, I'm going to say all this take it with a grain of salt. This is what the reports are on the internet. Mm-hmm. And you can take the accuracy, you can take it or leave it. Okay. Going back to the drone situation, I want to talk to you about that, or I just want to put a point out there. So where my parents live is close to a local airport, little airport. Mm-hmm. I tried to take my drone up when I first got it at their house years ago. Would only go, I think, 25 feet. As soon as you fire that drone up, it knows the geographic location of where you are, and if you are in a space that does not allow drones in the air, it will not go over a certain height. I'm sure that if you're in an area where there is complete restriction, you may not even be able to take off. I don't know that specifically, but I'm just assuming you do need a license if you are going to do what you were talking about earlier, where there's some locations where you have to contact the FAA and they have to give you the approval. So are these people getting approval for all these maybe mysterious drones? I mean, that leads you down a rabbit hole right there, right? Like, okay, all of these drones are up in the air, and what are they doing? How long are they? That's the other thing. You said you've seen a video. I mean, are these people just sitting there recording for 4 hours? Are the drones just hovering for 4 hours? Are they moving?
No, but so one of the reports that I heard was that some of the drone sightings have like people in a neighborhood or a community or whatever have cited the drones and have said that the drones were like hovering on station for like 12 hours. So I have heard that.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting in itself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if that is reality, that's scary, because I can tell you this, my little DJI Mavic, whatever, it doesn't hover for 12 hours. You don't even get 45 minutes. And if you got wind conditions and you got weather conditions, oh, here's the other thing. Have these drones been seen during any kind of weather? Because that's the other thing. Like, my drone's not flying in the winter, or I'm sorry, in the rain. So
yeah, and so that there's obviously, like I referenced earlier, there's drones that you can order for your kids for Christmas off of Amazon and Temu and stuff like that.
Right.
But drones do go all the way up to like in the Navy we have the Fire Scout, which if you saw a Fire Scout over your house, you would just think it was a helicopter with a pilot in it. It's an unmanned helicopter. It's a full size helicopter that doesn't have a pilot sitting in a seat. But the better known, the Reaper and Predator drones,
right,
those have a range. I think they have a linear range of 155 miles or something like that. Like they can fly, so I guess that would be a range of 300 miles. They could fly 150 miles out and back, and they have a mode where at a certain altitude they can reduce their power to a certain power level, and they can orbit and remain on station, for up to 12 or 14 hours. So I mean, there definitely is a spectrum on the drones.
All right, going back to the drone that you said for the Navy, you said that's a rotor drone.
Yep.
Okay.
If you saw it, if it came over your house, you would think
Right.
it was a helicopter that had a pilot in it. It's called a Fire Scout. Yeah.
Now, so that Fire Scout could hover, but now the Reaper and the Predators, those are fixed wings. I don't believe they can hover.
They can orbit. So, they cannot hover. Yeah.
Right. So that's the difference there. So obviously, if
but I can't confirm this. Yes, I'm in the military, but because I'm like, just because I'm in the military doesn't mean I know everything about what the military is doing. I have heard that the military has been testing a vertical takeoff and landing version of a Reaper, but I can't confirm that. I haven't seen it with my own eyes. But
are they using an arc reactor from Stark?
Yes.
Okay, because that's what they did in the second Avengers movie when they had the helicarriers up, and we all know that that's real. So right, yeah. So. Well, and the other thing with those, the Reaper and the Predators, they're carrying payloads. Now, I don't know if the Navy one carries a payload, that munitions payload. So that's what those.
Yeah, no, they can carry Hellfires and
okay. So there you go.
It has a FLIR, and I think it can have a gun pod and all kinds of stuff.
Wow, interesting. These are all rumors.
Yeah.
Right. None of this is facts. No, I mean, we don't know that. Obviously, we definitely don't know that it is, a military drone. The other rumor that we kind of touched on earlier is there was a nuke lost or a dirty bomb that they were looking for, and that's why they have all of these up. And it's something coming from Ukraine, and they're planning something, and then that's where the speculation starts, right? Like, there's something pretty big happening in the United States in just 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away. And is it a coordinated and planned attack? I mean, is this the start of it? Is this good? You can go down that rabbit hole if you choose. But I just don't, there's not enough out there, in my opinion, to prove this is something nefarious and something that is potentially going to start World War III. Every other month are we still doing the bingo cards of what's going to hit next? Like, was UFOs and unmanned drones attacking, was that part of it? Like, I know we had like locusts, we definitely had the COVID thing. Didn't they release the wasps at one point?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Hawk to a girl.
Yep. Hawk to a girl, right. So I just don't know where to go with this.
And you bring up, I guess, with that, you bring up two kind of good points. The government, and when I say the government, like the upper levels of the government, have not directly addressed this or made any kind of official statement. But the other thing is with this administration, and I hate to be this guy and I hate to sound like this guy, but facts is facts. Like, pretty much this administration has a history of lying to us about literally everything for the last 4 years. So even if Joe Biden or Karine Jean-Pierre did come on TV right now and make a statement, I wouldn't believe whatever they said anyway. Because they have proven themselves to be liars about everything. They lied to us for 2 straight years about COVID. They lied to us about the vaccine. They lied to us about Hunter Biden. They're still continuing to lie to us about the armed insurrection on January 6th, where nobody was armed and an insurrection didn't happen. But so yes, there's not been a government statement, but even if there was, this administration has conditioned us to not believe anything they say anyway. So this guy, I haven't seen whatever you're talking about. You said 12 hours ago, some guy from the Department of Energy said that the lost nuke theory isn't true. But I mean, if Biden came on and said that that's definitely not what it is, then that would make me think that probably definitely is what it is. So, but do you want to cover like what? I don't know.
Let me go back and pull up. Let me go back and pull up these drones here that are now. Are these drones that you sent me, are these military, or these are
supposed? So I have, disclaimer, I have not seen these with my own eyeballs yet, but supposedly these are vertical takeoff and landing versions of the Predator Reaper platform that are currently being tested by the Air Force.
Wow.
And they can hover and everything. So
yeah, there is that. I mean, that looks very Predator Reaper-ish, obviously, without the fixed wing. Now, I don't know if that wing, it looks like those wings rotate in and then out and then maybe straight. So
that's what it does look like a Osprey kind of deal.
Yeah.
Where maybe it has like helicopter mode and airplane mode.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder. I'm sure they'll tell us all about that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they will.
Right. Yeah.
But so the theories that I have heard, the first theory I heard was that these drones were being sighted during the nighttime hours. That people had sighted them basically coming from the east, coming west, meaning they were potentially coming overland from the water. And they were hovering and flying around over land during the night. And then just prior to sunrise, they were egressing back to the east, which was leading people to believe that there was some mothership off the coast that was launching and recovering them, like from international waters, and that these were possibly Chinese drones, because this is the next step in whatever the Chinese spy balloon thing was. Chinese spy balloon was step 1. Now this is step 2. I've heard that was a theory. I've heard that that there was suspicion that a nuclear weapon went missing during the Ukraine-Russian conflict that's been going on, and that they believe it may have found its way here in a shipping container, which would make sense that, like, the port of New Jersey, of Newark, that's one of the biggest shipping ports in the world, in the United States. So that they were trying to trace, that they were waiting for the sun to go down, because once the sun is down, there's less whatever it is, ionic radiation from the sun, and the temperature of the earth cools when it's at night, and so they could more easily identify this radiation plume or any heat being given off by a nuclear weapon by scanning for it at night. And so there's the lost nuke theory. I have heard theories that because these things have only been spotted at night, that they could actually be projections and not an actual physical drone. That there's not actually something in the sky. There's just being something projected into the sky, which anybody that's ever seen the Brady Bunch knows that that's a completely plausible theory. There was an episode of the Brady Bunch where they did that. What? There is.
Well, yeah, I know, but you're saying where they're shooting lasers in the sky to create some kind of
and they could only do that at night. Theoretically. And then there's the theory that's kind of a blanket theory that whatever this is, a fake projection, a nuclear search team, a Chinese incursion, that whatever this is definitely purposely timed and intended to disturb and disrupt the inauguration. But when you and I were talking on the phone, you made, I think, a valid point, that if that's what the goal here is, they've started way too early and kind of they're going to blow their wad way too early, because the inauguration is still actually 1 month away.
Yeah.
No,
just no, not yet.
Like 3
just
weeks
over
away.
a month.
Yeah.
Who knows? So all of this being said, folks, the final question here is, what do you do? What do you do with this information? How do you act? How do you prepare for this? What should you do? Do you go buy a larger caliber rifle and larger caliber ammunition? Yes, definitely do that, just because you never know when you might need to shoot down a Yeti or a UFO. But don't go shooting that just yet. Definitely go buy the rifle and buy the ammo, because America.
Yes. So should you go buy a weapon? Absolutely, yes. Should you shoot it at a drone? No, that's but definitely yes.
Right. Definitely
use whatever excuse you can find to go buy another weapon.
Exactly. And for all of you that have wives that may restrict that, wives, if you're listening, just earmuffs. Guys, if you just do that, just be like, listen, I need to protect you so you can go buy more shoes. Let me go buy a new rifle. And it works. It'll work.
Wrap it up, put it underneath the tree, and say it's from Santa. Open it in front of your kids, and then your wife has to let you keep it. Otherwise, it's ruining the
right. Now that's it. Listen, now guys, listen. I'm gonna take that a step further. That will work for a little bit, but the moment the kids are gone, you will get your ass kicked. So I wouldn't do that. I mean, what you could do is just put her name on it and be like, "You got me this." What's she gonna do? She's gonna be like, "No, I didn't get you that."
Or buy it for her and then be like, "Oh, you don't like this? Well, then I guess I'll keep it."
There it is. All right. So folks, what can you do? How can you nothing? Do nothing different than you have been doing up until now. There is no extra measures you need to take. And if these drones are armed with any kind of "we don't like America" payloads, there's going to be plenty of time to figure that out when the shit goes sideways. But you're not going to shoot the drones down. You're not going to which Jason Bourne was that with Jeremy Renner?
Oh, that was like, oh shoot.
Yeah, when he shot the drone down with his rifle. Stop it. Just stop. I mean, keep an eye out. And obviously, if anybody out there that's listening to this is looking up in the sky and you can identify what's going on, try and get some pictures, send it, comment on this episode, and let us know that you've got something. We'll talk about this again.
The drones that you just put up the pictures of a second ago, the vertical takeoff and landing configuration of the Reaper drone, if that was up and flying around during the day, that would be very, very difficult to see anyway. So that also could lend a little credence to why it hasn't been seen during the day, because it would be very, very difficult to see during the day. So,
well, so here's the other thing, and you may know this or you may not. I know what I don't know offhand, but I know roughly what the elevation capabilities of my commercial, my consumer DJI drone are. I know how high it can go. I know how far it can go before the battery runs out and it's bad mojo for everybody. When it loses connection to my little remote control, it's a bad time. It will return home, actually. But the drones that we're talking about, the military grade drones, they fly at an elevation way above what we would be able to really be able to see and identify. And what I mean by that is, if you look up in the sky and you see the airplanes with the chemtrails that everyone's going to lose their mind over right now, you can't really tell what that is making the chemtrail. You couldn't tell me what kind of airline it is. I mean, or airplane.
It's because it's not an airplane.
Okay, it's not an airplane. What is it?
It's a chemtrail releaser.
Mm-hmm. It's a chemtrail UFO releaser. Martians. And listen, here's the other thing. I was talking to my friend Mr. Lamb earlier today. You can misgender the aliens, whether you call them an alien or a Martian. They don't get mad. So don't worry about misgendering for them. But what I'm saying is those drones are moving. They're at an altitude where you're not really going to be able to identify what it is, and that's on purpose, right? Like,
yeah. So when we had the Predator and Reaper drones in Afghanistan, and this is all declassified information. You can Google this. Like, earlier I said like the best. And if I was confusing, I was referring to like the best, as far as I know, the best commercially available drones that you can get can fly like about 150 miles. The military drones that we use, like the ones we had when I was in Afghanistan, they have a range of 750 miles. And like whenever we would put them like orbiting over a target or whatever to get ISR on a target, they're hovering at 25,000 feet, which is also why you can't hear them. It's not that they're not making noise, you just can't hear it from 25,000 feet in the air. Yeah. And your AR-15 is not going to shoot at 25,000 feet in the air. Also, spoiler alert.
Exactly. So, like if you're talking like consumer drones, okay, and I'll just use the word consumer drone, being that you can go to the website and buy it. The DJI is probably one of the more popular brands of drones out there. The Inspire 3 is a $16,500 drone. Okay. Now, this drone is used for filmmaking. That is its sole purpose. It's got the best camera that you could possibly get for this type of situation. And as far as the other specifications, as far as just weight and distance, you're not going to get what you really are thinking. It's the distance, or the flight time is 28 minutes, folks. 28 minutes. I mean, when they use those drones for movies, they've got probably a panel full of batteries that they have to keep changing them out. But the Inspire 3, and that's a big drone, 23 minutes, or 28 minutes, and that's in optimal conditions. No wind, no moving, probably just hovering, and that's it. So the drones that you're talking about that hover for 12 hours, that's something different.
A military Reaper drone has an endurance time of roughly 27 hours.
Okay, so there you go. Right? Like there it is. Completely different type of drone that we're talking about here. Now, I would have to look at the two drones side by side to determine size, but they're big. Now, I believe that they make some drones, and I don't know if it's done by DJI or a different company, that are used for agricultural use.
Like spreading chemtrails?
Exactly. Or
I knew it.
Or fertilizer, one of the two. Right. But that's not what we're talking about here. So I don't know. There's a lot of I hate to say it, there's just a lot of misinformation out there.
I was gonna say there's a lot of bullshit. They're like, it's somebody that heard it from somebody, and their sister's cousin's brother said that he knew a guy that saw this and said this, and
it's not good. I mean, because it just listen, I guess it's great if you're a content creator on TikTok and you want all the views and you want to start selling stuff on the TikTok shop, or you want to go viral. Great. This will get you that information. Just like 2 weeks ago, if you were talking about Tim Kennedy, you were getting views. What did we do? What was the other popular one that we did? That
Oh, the assassination of the insurance guy.
The assassination of the CEO guy. If that's the topic right now, great. We know more about that guy than we ever learned about the guy who attempted to shoot President Trump, which is just insane. But this is this week's clickbait. I hate to use that word because we're talking about it, but we're trying to look at it from a different point of view. We're not out there really spreading disinformation. We're out here acknowledging the fact that there's probably misinformation out there, acknowledging the fact that some of this doesn't seem really plausible. I put up a picture earlier that Jamie's never seen, which is just a bunch of lights in the sky. And I don't know. Is it possible to Photoshop lights in the sky on a picture of a sky? No, it's not. It's not possible at all. You can't Photoshop anything these days.
Myth busted.
Exactly. You can, however, shove a scuba tank in a great white's mouth and shoot it and say, "Smile, you son of a bitch," and it will explode.
Yeah, I did that before.
Exactly. But I don't know, man. It's a lot of
my only little toe dip into the tinfoil hat arena, and I guess I have one toe from each foot dipped into two different tinfoil hats, but one of them is like the fact that nobody important from the government has came out and made an official statement, like, to me could mean that, because if these drones are real, number one, if what is being reported is actually happening, anything close to what is being reported, if there's any truth to it at all, I would guarantee you the government knows what they are and where they're coming from and where they're returning to and what they're doing. And the fact that nobody's saying it to me means one of two things. It means that the government knows what the truth is, and they would rather everybody run with all these crazy rumors because that's less scary than whatever the truth is.
Yep. Okay. That's one theory.
Sometimes, like, our government is good at keeping stuff a secret. Like, I know it doesn't seem like it a lot of the time, but when the military wants to keep something a secret, the military is pretty good at keeping stuff a secret. I mean, a basic example that dates back to the 1940s is the Norton bomb site that was on our bombers. That was a very, very, very closely kept secret that was successfully kept secret all the way through the conclusion of World War II. That bomb site technology, we were the only ones that had it. We were the only ones that used it, and we were the only ones that knew about it. And even in spite of airplanes being shot down and stuff all the way through the war, the secrets behind the technology of that bomb site were kept a secret because it was in our best interest to do so. So the government and the military are good at keeping secrets when they want to. That could be one thing that this could be something fairly benign that the government just wants to keep secret because they don't want our adversaries to know about it, or something is going on and the government does know what it is, and the truth is less scary than the rumors that everybody is just running with. So
yeah, the question is, will we ever know? I don't know. I think this will run its course until the next diversion topic happens. I mean, obviously there was a school shooting last week that I didn't even realize because there was two.
There's two. Yeah.
Okay. Two. Now one of them was a young female, right? So maybe that didn't really fit the mold. So maybe that's not why it's talking about. But the only thing I keep seeing,
the other one was a Hamas anti-Israel sympathizer, and that's probably why you haven't heard of that one. But.
Yeah. Okay. So this drone thing will continue to take front and center until the next big thing happens.
So who is the one person that you can think of in our government that loves to get in front of a camera and run his mouth about every single thing he can think of to run his mouth about.
Currently in our government?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
The Donald.
Well, he's not. Well, he's president-elect. He's not currently taking that paycheck yet. So,
this again goes back.
Right.
This goes back to that thing that, like, sometimes it's better to pay more attention to what you're not seeing and what you're not hearing, and you're not hearing the guy that loves to give his opinion on everything. You're not really hearing him say much about it either, which to me reinforces my other theory that they know what it is, and they just for one reason or the other they don't want to tell us. So, like,
I saw one report with him, and someone asked him about that, and he said, he was like, they know what these drones are. The government knows what they are, and that was the one statement I saw. I didn't look
and
past
it was a blanket, generic,
right?
kind of passing the buck kind of statement. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's the one person that loves to get in front of a camera and give his absolute, unbiased, unfiltered opinion on everything. And his answer when asked about the drones was, well, I'm sure we've got a handle on it. We'll figure it out. Like, so that, to me, that's another little tell. But yeah. The last thing I had about drones is just kind of drones in the abstract. I recently it's funny because it was completely unrelated to the current situation that we've been talking about that's going on right now in the New Jersey area. But it was an interview I came across a couple of weeks ago before all this drone madness started. And the guy being interviewed was he was a career Army officer. He was a career Ranger Battalion officer. He was on the ground in Mogadishu during Black Hawk Down. He was a young Ranger officer at that point, but he did a full career and retired as a Ranger colonel. And then after that, he did some work for the CIA, and he did some advisory work in overseas conflicts. He was on the ground in Ukraine. He has been on the ground in was it Serbia? And Chechnya. Yeah. So he was on the ground in advisory and roles in some of those other places. And one of the things that he said, because the interviewer asked him, you've had such a long military career that where you saw lots and lots and lots of combat. Do you have any advice for young military people that are just starting their careers in the military in today's world? Because this guy's experience spanned from the early 90s up to what's going on now. And one of his pieces of advice was, like, go on Amazon and buy a drone and start learning how to use it, and like find a way to start learning that skill set, because he said, based on what he has seen in these modern, like current overseas conflicts, like in Israel, in Gaza, in Ukraine, he said that, like, drones are going to change the face of warfare with the same proportion or the same impact as the invention of the machine gun. He's like, drones are going to be that impactful on how we fight wars. And he's like, if you're currently in the military, if you're about to join the military, he said, go online, buy a drone, learn how to use it, learn that skill set, figure out the capabilities, figure out the limitations, like start learning it now, because drones are going to change the way we fight wars as much as the invention of the machine gun and the tank did. So
interesting.
Yeah. So
well, listen,
drones,
folks.
Man.
Yeah, they are. Drones are interesting. And I can tell you that from my side of it. I bought it to capture footage, and I've used it, and I do enjoy using it. I don't find enough reasons to use it, and that's on me. But as always, thank you for spending your time listening to us. We would love to hear some feedback on today's episode about what your thoughts are on this situation. Do you think it's just a bunch of trash and just another distraction, or is there a possible imminent threat that we're not aware of, and these things are out there finding it? I do believe that if they were an imminent threat alone, that they would know, you wouldn't continue to be seeing them in the air. They would, if it was something that was coming to attack us, obviously I think that would be solved rather quickly. But yeah, you know what, guys, it's going to be a topic. I'm sure we will continue to keep our finger on the pulse of this and report back anything that we do here, whether it's another show or whether it's just a follow-up video over on YouTube. But until next time, you guys stay safe out there and keep looking up. Jamie?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things you just said is kind of like a basic like principle of warfare. I don't think these drones are from a foreign actor. I mean, in the era of the Chinese spy balloon, I guess nothing's off the table. But the Japanese weren't flying reconnaissance flights over Pearl Harbor for a month before they attacked. The attack just came out of nowhere. Right. So that would be bad tactics if this is any foreign adversary. But yeah, whatever it is, I'm interested to see what unfolds, and don't shoot at them, especially in the coming week or so, because it might be a sleigh with 8 tiny reindeer. And you don't want that on your conscience. And other than that, it's easy to be hard and it's hard to be smart. And that's all I got.
Awesome. Okay, guys, until next time, CP002.